Dear learners, I welcome you to this class that today we are going to discuss the historical theory of rights. Before this, we have been dealing with the theories of human rights, and we found that these theories are basically providing normative justification to the claims of rights. The different dimensions of rights can be also understood by understanding these theories, so that is why we have already discussed the natural rights theory, which is among the earliest theories of human rights. After that, we also discussed the legal rights theory, and the two different dimensions of human rights we try to understand in the light of these theories. So now we are going to discuss the third important theory of human rights, and that is the historical theory of rights. As we discussed in our previous lectures on theories of rights, the theories provide a normative justification for human rights. The claim of rights as natural provided a moral justification to insist that the state must protect and promote them. When the under the natural rights theory, what is claimed that rights are natural. They existed even before the creation of the state. So it means that when the state is created, then what happens? The claim of rights as natural provides a moral justification to the people, those who are demanding rights, to insist that the state must protect and promote them. The legal rights theory, on the other hand, after natural rights theory, the legal rights theory, on the other hand, recognizes the legitimacy of rights and shows ways to implement them through legal force behind them. So something that was claimed natural, now that is being recognized by the legal law of the land. It is being incorporated in the constitution of the country. So ultimately, what is happening because of this legal theory of rights? That the major contribution is that it recognizes the legitimacy of rights and shows ways to implement them through the legal force behind them. So a state is held accountable for implementing and enforcing the rights. In this lecture, we are going to explain the historical theory of rights and its contribution to the development of human rights. That is another important theory. So after natural rights theory and legal rights theory, the third theory that we are going to discuss in this class is the historical theory of rights. The development of the historical school of philosophy and jurisprudence in the 19th century led to the historical theory of rights. This was the time when Darwin was being discussed everywhere, and that's why there was an impact. So that is why this historical school of philosophy and jurisprudence developed, and because of this, this historical theory of rights came into existence. The historical theory of rights maintains that rights have evolved over time. They were not created in one go. They are the product of long historical growth. So that is why the historical theory recognizes the evolutionary nature of human rights and says that it was not, demanded and secured in one go. The human rights that we have today in the 21st century, they can be traced back to a long, to many centuries in the past. So that is why this historical theory of rights tries to establish the logical connection between the rights and our past. The logical connection, it means that, if you want to explain this point, we can discuss as we discussed the evolution of human rights from the Magna Carta to the International Bill of Rights in our previous lectures. So, in our previous lectures, when we are trying to delve deep into the evolution of the concept of human rights, then we found that, you know, in the Western tradition of human rights, we traced its origin in the Magna Carta of 1215, when the nobility or the barons, they demanded certain concession or rights from the king, and they forced the king to accept their demand. From there, you see that the struggle continued, and after that, you will find there was civil war in England. That was also the claim of the rights of the people that led to civil war, which also led to the beheading of the King Charles I in England. After that, the country was plunged into civil war, and then you'll find that glorious revolution comes in 1688, which was a bloodless revolution. Not even a single drop of blood was shed. So from there, you'll find certain rights were recognized by the William of Orange, and then we come to the American War of Independence, and then from American War of Independence to American Bill of Rights to the French Revolution. And we discussed that how these important revolutions, they emphasize the civil and political rights, and how these civil and political rights were incorporated in the International Bill of Rights under what we call the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. After that, we discuss about the Industrial Revolution, its implications, and then we found in the post-industrial society what happened, that there was the plight of the workers and the socialist movement became stronger. Socio-economic challenges were the major challenges. So that is why there we find that the socialist movements, they started demanding socio-economic rights, and finally you will find in the International Bill of Rights the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, that comes into existence, and it was recognized. So our journey of the origin of human rights and its culmination into the International Bill of Rights, that is in the 20th century after the establishment of human rights. So we have already discussed the brief history of almost 800 years. It means that the rights cannot be understood without connecting it or connecting them with our past. So that is why this theory tries to establish the connection of rights to the past. The customs and traditions have played a significant role in the development of rights. The historical theory of rights claims that the custom and traditions have played a significant role in the development of rights. For example, when the rights were not recognized by the state or by the kings, at that time it was the custom, these were the customs and traditions. These custom and traditions were protecting the rights and forcing people to discharge their duties. They would have been imposed by religion or some kind of understanding between the people, societal values, etc. So that is why, according to the historical school of thought or the historical theory of rights, the customs and traditions have played a significant role in the development of rights. It perceives rights as the crystallization of customs and traditions. According to the historical theory of rights, the rights don't have an independent existence if we do not recognize the custom and tradition. Meaning the customs and traditions that were there, the rights that were inherent in customs and traditions of the societies, they were finally recognized by the state, and that is why they got crystallized, they got concretized, and they became the rights. So it means they are deeply rooted in the customs and traditions of the societies. We also discussed the universalization versus cultural relativism debate, which underscores the importance of cultural values, customs, and traditions in solidifying rights. You see, for example, when we say that the rights are universal, then the cultural relativist will say that this is a Eurocentric view, ethnocentric view, because no region or generation can claim the monopoly of wisdom. So, this is the reason that you have to see the cross cultural nature of rights. And that is why the cultural relativists say that there may be certain rights, they may be called universal, but at the same time, there are certain rights that are culture specific. So, when the moment we say culture, it means we are talking about the social milieu, cultural values, custom, and traditions. So, that is why the significance of custom, traditions, cultural values, social milieu, that cannot be ignored or underestimated in the development and crystallization of rights. Edmund Burke was the chief supporter of this theory. He was, of course, a conservative thinker, and Edmund Burke, he was the chief supporter of this historical origin of human rights theory. He criticized the French Revolution. He was a bitter critic of French Revolution. We have been glorifying the French Revolution, but he was a conservative thinker, so he criticized the French Revolution for seeking abrupt changes and recognition of rights. So you see that people wanted to achieve certain things abruptly, and they were not, the rights that were recognized in France after the revolution, they were not durable. They did not last long. And very soon we find that the reign of terror was established after revolution in France. So that is why he was critical of the French Revolution. While he was critical of the French Revolution, he appreciated the glorious revolution of 1688 of England. And the reason for his appreciation was that, according to him, it was inspired and motivated by the people's customary rights. This is important. People's customary rights. Because, these rights were evolved from Magna Carta to, 1688. It is coming to the 17th century. So, the span of 500 years is already there. So, that is why, in Glorious Revolution of England, what happened? That the people's customary rights were recognized. So, that is why he said that, the change was slow, gradual, steady, and that is why it was consistent. The positive law school also supports the historical theory of rights. The positive law school, for example, we have been discussing about Bentham, Austin, and others. We find that, the positive law school that says that the laws are codified and made by the state and or by a legislature of human beings. So ultimately, this law, or this positive law school also support the historical theory of rights, because what is law? Law is nothing but the recognition of the custom and tradition of the society. So that is why, when the law is made, the custom and tradition, they are just legalized through the competent authority that is called legislature in our time. Bentham and Austin, two great philosophers, they support the historical theory of rights and argue that the character of rights, like the character of law, is historical. So, both of them, they believe in the historical origin or evolutionary nature of human rights. So, they say as the character of law is historical, similarly, the character of rights is also historical. These thinkers, they emphasize the codification of laws and recognition of rights through these laws. The thinkers who belong to the positive law school, they say that the codification of laws and recognition of rights through these laws, that is important. Otherwise, what will happen? That there will just be a moral obligation upon the state or society, or there will just be moral claims. So that is why, the moral obligation will become a legal obligation of the state only when, they are being translated or they are being incorporated into the laws of the land, or they are being codified. So, for example, you see the rights that are mentioned in the Constitution as fundamental. So, the fundamental rights are those rights that cannot be infringed upon, they cannot be taken away by the state. The Darwinian theory of evolution is often invoked to justify the historical and evolutionary nature of human rights. That the society or the human institution, they have evolved over time. So that is why the Darwinian theory of evolution is often invoked to justify the historical and evolutionary nature of human rights. So it means they're, in a nutshell, what do they want to say? They say that what do they say, the scholar, that human rights were not abruptly created. It is not created overnight. Rather, they have evolved over time. That is their main contention. Burgess, Savagnin, Rank are the other chief exponents of the historical theory of rights. These exponents are there. We don't have time to explain their views on the historical theory of rights, but of course these are the important scholars. They are to be studied. Their writings are to be seen for better understanding of the historical theory of rights. Now, the critical appraisal of the theory. All rights have not emanated from customs and traditions. The first criticism. All rights have not emanated from customs and traditions. It cannot be denied that many rights have got universal acceptability under the aegis of the United Nations. So, for example, there are many rights that have been incorporated in the constitution of the various countries under the influence of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or under the influence of the various treaties of the United Nations. So that is why these rights, when the many countries, they became the member of the United Nations, and when the United Nations came up with certain treaties of human rights, these countries signed, and correspondingly in their respective the respective countries, they made certain laws to protect those rights that were championed by the United Nations through these treaties. We should remember that since 1945 till date, United Nations has already adopted more than 100 treaties, conventions, and covenants and declarations of human rights. So ultimately, they have their influence. So that is why all rights have not emanated from custom and traditions. It cannot be denied that many rights have got universal acceptability under the aegis of the United Nations. All customs cannot necessarily result in the development of rights. This is also important. All customs cannot necessarily result in the development of rights, because there may be many customs that are becoming outdated and they cannot be claimed in the present circumstances. There are many customs in societies that threatened rights. There were many customs, there were many traditions. They were not protecting rights, rather, they were threatening rights. For example, the customary practice of untouchability in our own country. Our own people discriminated against. A particular segment of our population was considered as untouchable. So that was the customary practice. So it was not, the custom was not protecting rights, rather it was responsible for violating rights. Similarly, the practice of sati, the customary practice of sati in our own country. So that was one of the colossal violation of the rights of women. So ultimately, there were many customs in society that threatened rights. It cannot be denied. The historical theory of rights leads to conservatism and resistance to revolutionary changes. There is no doubt in it that the historical theory, we discussed about Edmund Burke, how he criticized the French Revolution, because French Revolution, what the revolutionaries were trying to do, they were trying to seek what is called abrupt changes and recognition of rights. So that is why the historical theory of rights, many supporters of the historical theory of rights, they become conservative, and they are averse to abrupt change, that is revolution. So the revolutionary zeal is something that is discouraged by them. They want slow, gradual growth and evolution of anything. So that becomes quite problematic. And because of that, this theory has been criticized. It undermines the contribution of great revolutions like the French and Bolshevik revolutions to human rights. You see, the contribution of Magna Carta to Glorious Revolution, or to French Revolution, or American War of Independence, or Chinese Revolution, or the Bolshevik Revolution of Russia 1917, these their contributions cannot be underestimated. But what happens? These theorists, they are trying to undermine the contribution of these great revolutions. In these revolutions, thousands of people sacrifice their life to change the society. So this long struggle, and then again the sacrifices of the people for claiming certain rights as legitimate, that cannot be delegitimized, and it cannot be underestimated. Again, one of the major criticisms of the historical theory of rights is that the parliament, or what we call the Congress or the legislatures, are playing a vital role in our time in expanding the catalog of human rights. So, for example, if something is there, America got independence in 1787. Of course, the War of Independence was started. Declaration was in 1776. But you'll find that even in the 21st century, certain laws are being made, and certain new rights are being recognized. For example, rights of gays, for example, rights of lesbians, rights of sexual minorities, or different other kinds of rights. So ultimately, the crucial role, the vital role that the legislatures are playing, that cannot be underestimated. So ultimately, what is happening, that these legislatures, with the collective wisdom, representing the collective wisdom of a nation, are giving immense contribution to the catalog of human rights, and they are expanding. There may be many factors. It is not the custom and traditions alone. State power, potential manipulation of legal systems, and unequal access to justice can hinder with this. I think this criticism that we have already discussed. Now, in the next lecture, we are going to take up the Marxist theory of rights. Here, what is important to understand, that the legal theory of rights, the natural rights theory, and then the historical theory of rights, they all have contributed to the development of human rights. Their contribution is immense. These are the different dimensions of human right. They are providing normative justification to rights on different kind of through different kind of arguments, through different kind of normative discourses. So that is why we cannot say that this particular theory is better and that particular theory is not good. This is not. All these dimensions are important, and these theories, that is the natural rights theory, the legal rights theory, or the historical rights theory, they are going to make us, they are going to give us a perspicacious and the deeper understanding of human rights. So thank you very much. With this, I am going to wind up today's lecture on the historical theory of rights. So we find that in the historical theory of rights, the customs and the traditions have been emphasized. And it has been emphasized, in conclusion, we can say that it has been emphasized that rights that we have got today, they are the result of a long historical growth, and the nature of human rights, according to the historical theory of rights, is evolutionary. It has not been claimed and secured in one go. It is not the result of abrupt changes that were taking place in the society. So These are the points that we have to keep in mind while understanding the historical theory of rights. In the next lecture, we are going to take up the Marxist theory of rights. Thank you very much.